What if I told you that the peace you're searching for doesn't come from doing more, but from silently destroying everything that's stealing your calm? Because your real enemy isn't the world, it's yourself. That noise keeping you awake at night is born from your thoughts that scream, from the fears that suffocate you, from the attachments that chain you down, and as long as you let them exist, you'll remain a prisoner of your own torment. In this video, you're not going to learn how to do more. I'm not going to ask you to add new routines, habits, or endless to-do lists. Today we're going in the opposite direction. I'll show you the 11 things you must eliminate in silence if you truly want to find the inner peace you've been looking for. Deep lessons from Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us that real power lies in letting go of what's unnecessary, in releasing what drains our energy. Because it's not what you do, it's what you carry that keeps you from your calm. So stay with me, because today you'll learn how to free yourself from that invisible weight that's draining you from within, even if on the outside, everything seems just fine. Ready to find peace in silence? Let's begin. Before we dive in, let me tell you Matteo's story. And no, this isn't some heroic tale. It's the story of someone who, like you and me, learned to live with an invisible weight, until one day, it almost crushed him. Matteo was an electrician, one of those guys who's always available, who never says no. He was 47, and from the outside, he looked like the typical tough guy, rough hands, able to fix anything. But there was one thing he couldn't fix: the exhaustion he felt inside. And I'm not just talking about physical tiredness, I mean existential exhaustion, the kind that doesn't go away even after 8 hours of sleep or a nice vacation. The kind that follows you around like a shadow, even if you pretend everything's fine. Every day felt like running a race with no finish line. First work, then helping his sister with her bills, then taking care of his aging mother, who needed more and more support. Matteo said yes to everything, out of habit, out of fear of letting people down, out of fear of hearing the silence that came when he was left alone. One night, after a long day, he got stuck in a massive traffic jam. He'd been sitting in his car for almost 2 hours, unable to move, his phone buzzing non-stop. Messages from clients, his sister, his mother, everyone needed something. And there was Matteo, gripping the steering wheel, feeling something he'd never felt before. A wild urge to drop everything, to disappear, to drive off and never look back. But he didn't. Like always, he took a deep breath, swallowed hard, and kept going. Until a few weeks later, in the middle of an electrical installation, a heavy tool slipped and landed on his foot. Nothing serious, he thought. But when he tried to get up, his body said enough. Dizziness, a stupid fall, and Matteo ended up on the ground. Not because of the injury, but because of everything he'd been carrying in silence for years. That day, in the emergency room, the diagnosis was clear: extreme exhaustion. It wasn't his body that was broken. It was his life. And right then, in that moment, Matteo learned something. Life will always give you signs, but if you don't listen, it'll scream them in your face. In the middle of that forced pause, while he recovered, his niece gave him a book she had read at university. "So you can think about something else," she said. It was On the Shortness of Life by Seneca. Matteo, half skeptical and half bored, started reading, and then he found a sentence that hit him like lightning. "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Matteo realized his problem wasn't the lack of hours. It was what he was spending them on. His life hadn't filled up with obligations. He'd filled it himself. By not saying no, by not stopping, by not listening to himself. And while he kept saying yes to everything, he was slowly emptying out inside. So, for the first time in years, Matteo started letting go. No, he didn't change jobs. He didn't move to Tibet. But he started saying no. He stopped answering messages after a certain hour. He made time to enjoy a coffee quietly, without his phone by his side. He canceled plans he didn't feel like doing. He breathed, without rushing. Today, Matteo is still an electrician, but he's no longer available all the time. Now he's also available for himself, This story is for you too. If you've gotten used to living on the edge, if you feel like you always have to be there for everyone, but never for yourself, because as Marcus Aurelius once said, perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind. And that tranquility isn't found by doing more. It's found by letting go of what's weighing you down. That's why today, I'll show you the 12 things you must eliminate in silence if you want to feel that sense of calm you lost long ago. Before we continue, if this content is bringing you value, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member to access unique benefits. And tell us in the comments, what do you feel is stealing your calm lately? What emotion would you like to transform in silence? Or just write, I am a Stoic. Today I start truly listening to myself. That will be your commitment to yourself. 1. Cut ties with the life others chose for you. My friend, be honest with yourself for a moment. Is this life you're living really the one you chose? The career, the job, even the small day-to-day decisions, are they truly yours? Or are you being steered by someone else's expectations? Sometimes, without realizing it, we're living out the plan others designed for us, like actors playing a role in someone else's script. And meanwhile, that inner silence starts to scream. Because sure, you can have everything in order on the outside, but if you're not listening to yourself, if you're not choosing for you, you'll never find the peace you're looking for. Let me tell you the story of Adam Neumann, the founder of WeWork. You've probably heard of him for building a shared office empire that skyrocketed and then came crashing down. But his real story is less known and far more valuable. Adam grew up in Israel, in an environment where it was expected he'd follow a traditional, serious path. Maybe take over a family business or hold a respectable role in society. He even studied at a military academy, not because he wanted to, but because it was what everyone expected of him. But something inside him didn't fit. After a few failed attempts at businesses that never felt truly his, he discovered what really sparked his passion: creating communities, spaces where people could feel connected, feel at home. That's how WeWork was born. At its core, it was about bringing people together, creating places where they could grow alongside one another. But with success came pressure, outside expectations, and Adam ended up trapped in the image of the billionaire entrepreneur that the world wanted to see. He lost his way, and when everything exploded, when WeWork fell apart, Adam did something most people never dare to do. He listened to his inner voice again. Today, he stepped away from the spotlight and from everyone else's expectations. He focuses on more human projects. He creates residential communities where people not only share space, but share real experiences. Adam understood what Epictetus once said: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. And if Adam could look at your life today, my friend, if he could see that you're following a path you never truly chose, he'd ask you the same question: is this what you want, or is this what others decided for you? If you really want to find that peace we're searching for together in this video, you have to dare to quietly let go of the life that isn't yours. Here are 3 steps to get started. First, grab a pen and paper and write down the things you do just to please others. Be specific. Like those family dinners you always attend, even though they drain you. Or staying in that WhatsApp group that takes more energy than it gives just so you don't seem rude. And those drinks you have at night just so your friends won't call you boring? Write it all down, no filter. Then look at it straight on and ask yourself, if no one knew, if no one judged me, would I still be doing this? Second, gift yourself a moment just for you. Do something you love, even if it seems silly to everyone else. Watching bad movies in your pajamas on a Tuesday? Perfect. Learning to play an instrument even if you're off key? Go for it. These small acts of rebellion are the first steps toward living a life that sounds like you. And third, think about this. How long will I be dead afterward? I know it sounds harsh, but it's freeing. If you really think about that, are you going to keep living just to please others? Choose what makes you feel alive now. Those who think they'll live forever can keep the worries, the guilt, and the fear. You can't build peace while living in someone else's blueprint. Only when you start making decisions that carry your voice, your rhythm, your essence, that's when the silence stops hurting and starts healing. 2. Silence the voice that sabotages you. You've spent the whole day with a loudspeaker pressed up against your ear, but not just any loudspeaker. This one has the habit of cranking up the volume at the worst possible moments. When you're about to try something new, it blasts, "You're going to fail." When you finally build up the courage to say what you think, there it is again. "Better stay quiet, you're not that good." It's like having an internal DJ who only plays depressing songs and refuses to take requests. And the worst part? That music doesn't come from the outside. It's installed right in your head. Now imagine Seneca strolling through your mind on a Monday morning. You hand him a scroll with all your thoughts from that day. He reads it for 2 minutes and gives it back, looking at you like, "This is a Greek tragedy." You don't need to be a philosopher to see that sometimes the things we tell ourselves are the biggest obstacles we face. Let me ask you something you might never have considered. If someone dared to say to you, out loud and in front of your friends, the same things you repeat to yourself every day, what would you do? Would you accept it? Or would you stand up to them? Because what you tolerate in your mind is often worse than any external criticism. You talk to yourself in ways you'd never allow anyone else to speak to you, and that little by little fills your head with noise. And I'm not the only one saying this. Psychologist Ethan Kross discovered a simple but powerful technique. Talk to yourself in the third person. In his studies, he asked people to replace "I can't" with something like, "Maria, you can handle this." The result? The areas of the brain that regulate emotions lit up, and anxiety went down. It's like when you talk to yourself as a friend, you can step back from the noise and hear something clearer. My friend, if you truly want to find that missing piece, it's time to turn the volume down. Not outside, but inside. The first thing you can do is identify that voice. But seriously, give it a name. Like you're baptizing that inner critic. Call it the downer, the drama queen, or the failure commentator. Whatever makes you smile. When you name it, you strip away that sense of authority it holds in your head. It's no longer some sacred voice. It's just that annoying character we all have. Then every time that voice starts talking, stop it in its tracks with a phrase, one that puts you back in control. Something like, "Thanks for sharing, but I don't need you right now." Or, "You told me that story yesterday, bring me something new." Sounds silly, but it works. You cut the narrative before it turns into a whole movie in your mind. And lastly, use Ethan Kross's advice. Talk to yourself in the third person, as if you're your best friend. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," say, "Buddy, you've been through worse." Step back from the noise, look at it from the outside, and you'll see that voice lose its grip. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." And if you let your mind paint everything in dark shades, you'll end up seeing life in black and white. But if you learn to quiet that sabotaging voice, if you turn down the volume of that internal DJ, you start coloring your inner world with new shades. And there, in that silence you create within, the peace you've been searching for begins to grow. 3. Stop postponing what you dream of. I'm going to give you the best advice you'll hear today for finding peace. Cut the excuses and stop postponing your dreams. Just like that, straight to the point. Because that's exactly what I did a few years ago, and I promise you, that's when everything started to change. I had this idea stashed away in a note on my phone, one of those things you write down in a flash of inspiration and then let gather digital dust. It was crazy, something I'd always wanted to do, travel the world for a year. No strings attached, no schedules, just me and my backpack. But of course there was always a, "when I have time, when I've saved more, when the moment's right." Well-disguised excuses. Until one day I realized I'd spent more years waiting than actually living. And my friend, let me tell you this, life doesn't wait. That day I listened to a video from Thomas Frank. He shared a rule that lit a fire in me. Start badly, just like that. Because waiting to do it perfectly is the best way to never do it at all. And I thought, all right then, I'm going to start badly. So, I bought the cheapest plane ticket I could find for 6 months down the road. Yep, 6 months. If I made it any sooner, I'd panic and cancel. And if I left it open-ended, I'd never go. So I locked that date in. I didn't know how I was going to pull it off, but I knew that if I waited to feel ready, I'd grow old waiting. The result? Not only did I travel that year, it turned out to be the lightest, freest, most peaceful year I'd ever lived. Because I stopped postponing what filled me up. I stopped drowning that dream in excuses. And for the first time, I felt like I was really living. My friend, I hope this helps you see that you need to quiet down and stop putting your dreams on hold. And Seneca says it best with this line: while we waste our time hesitating, life speeds by. And do you know what steals your peace more than anything? Putting off the things that give you life. Because that's where the balance lies, in moving toward what you desire, even if it's just in small steps, even if you don't have everything figured out. So let's silence those doubts you're carrying. How? First, don't wait any longer. Take one step today, even a tiny one. Don't worry, you don't have to cross the ocean tomorrow. But you can send that message, sign up for that course, say your idea out loud. Because when you name it, it starts to exist. Second, try the 2-minute rule. If there's something you can do right now that moves you closer to your dream, and it takes less than 2 minutes, do it. Open a document and write a title. Reach out to a contact. Pick a date. The action is small, but it breaks the chain that keeps you stuck. And most importantly, write your goal in the present tense. Imagine you want to start your own podcast. Don't say, "Someday I'll have a podcast." Say, "I'm recording an episode today with a special guest." Even if you don't have a microphone, a guest, or even a name for the show yet, this gives shape to what you want here and now. When you choose to move, when you decide to eliminate the waiting and step toward what you dream of, that's when peace starts to make space inside you. So let me ask you, what's that dream you've been putting off that, if you started today, would bring you closer to the calm you've been searching for? Here, you'll find the support you need. Because this community is full of people like you. People who've chosen to stop waiting and start building their peace, step by step, in silence, but together. 4. Stop playing the victim. Let me ask you something. Do you still say things like, "It's just impossible with my boss"? Or maybe you drop a, "With this family, there's no way to live in peace"? Don't worry, my friend. I used to do it too. Playing the victim is comfortable, cozy even. Like that old blanket that doesn't warm you anymore but is hard to let go of. It gives us an excuse, a reason to stay put, to avoid taking risks. But let me tell you something. The comfort of playing the victim comes at a price, and it's not cheap. You pay with your freedom, with your peace, because as long as you keep pointing the finger outward, the real problem will stay right there, inside. Think about that moment when you didn't apply for the promotion you wanted. You said, "What's the point? I already know how the system works." But was it really the system? Or was it fear disguised as resignation? Because it's easier to blame the boss, the government, the weather, than to look inside and admit that maybe, just maybe, you lacked the courage to act. Epictetus, who knew more about this than anyone, said, "Don't expect the world to be fair. Focus on being virtuous yourself." And he wasn't saying that from the comfort of an office chair, trust me. This was a man who was born a slave, who knew suffering firsthand, who had been beaten down by life and by men. Imagine him telling fate, "Not today, I'm too sore to suffer." But my friend, the man didn't even have full use of his leg. That wasn't an option, because Epictetus understood that he couldn't control what happened to him, but he could control how he responded. And in that response was his freedom. So do you want to know how to break out of that victim mode? I'm not going to give you the typical think positive line. I know that's not enough. Let's get practical, something you can do today, quietly, without announcing it to the world. Just for you. Start with your body. Sounds silly? I'm telling you, it's not. When you're in victim mode, pay attention to how you hold yourself. Slumped shoulders, eyes downcast. Change it. Pull your shoulders back, open up your chest, take a deep breath. Your body reacts before your mind does. Change your posture, and you'll feel your energy shift. Next, make a list of the excuses you use, the phrases you repeat without even realizing. That's just how it's always been. I can't. It's too late. Write them all down and look them straight in the eye. Now, erase them. Literally. Cross them out with a marker. Scribble over them until you can't read them anymore. And then, don't leave the list empty. Replace those phrases with ones that push you forward. If you used to say, I can't, swap it for, I'm going to try my way. If you said, it's too late, change it to, it's never too late if I start today. It might sound simple, but those little phrases shape the way you see your life. And if you ever doubt, remember this. You can't choose what happens, but you can choose not to sit on the sidelines watching your life from the stands. What if you stepped onto the field? You might not control the scoreboard, but at least you're playing. And playing, my friend, is what gives you back control. You've got to quiet that inner voice telling you that you can't, that it's not your fault, that the world is unfair. Eliminate that victim role, quietly, without making noise. And you'll see how, little by little, that peace you've been searching for starts to break through. Because no one's going to give you permission to take the reins. Only you can do that. 5. Break the chain of comparison. Picture yourself on a go-kart track, engines revving, everyone ready to race. But instead of looking ahead, you're busy watching the other drivers. One zooms past on your right, another overtakes on your left. And while you're focused on everyone else instead of your own path, you miss the curve ahead and bam, you crash. That's exactly what constant comparison does. It distracts you, slows you down, and worst of all, makes you crash into yourself. Sound familiar? You wake up, open social media, and there it is. Someone in Bali, cocktail in hand, watching the sunset. But what don't you see? Maybe that person is sleeping in a crowded hostel with 20 strangers surrounded by bugs and has been sick all week. But none of that matters because your mind's already telling you their life is better than yours. And now even your morning coffee tastes bitter. One person who learned firsthand that comparison is the perfect recipe for unhappiness was Pete Best. Not ringing a bell? What if I told you he was the original drummer for the Beatles? Yep, he was there. Right before they exploded, before the whole world was singing their songs. But they kicked him out. He was pushed out of the band that went on to change music history. Imagine living with that, watching your old bandmates fill stadiums, become legends, while you sit at home wondering what went wrong. For years, Pete was trapped in that cycle of constant comparison. Every Beatles hit was a reminder of what his life could have been. But then came a turning point. Pete decided to let go of that invisible measuring stick. He stopped looking at the stage where he no longer stood and started building one of his own. He created a family, played music for the joy of it, without needing the fame, without needing to fill stadiums. And when asked if he was happy, he said yes. He hadn't been the fifth Beatle, but he'd found something you can't buy with gold records: peace. He understood what Marcus Aurelius wrote. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And if your thoughts are full of comparisons, you'll struggle to find happiness. Put yourself in this situation. After years, you finally go to one of those classic high school reunions. You show up, laugh a bit, catch up with people. But soon the stories start. One just got back from Japan, another brags about their big promotion, someone else shows off photos of their new house, and you smile, of course. But inside, that uncomfortable murmur starts up. That little voice comparing, measuring, calculating. Why haven't I done something like that? Where did I go wrong? And before you know it, you're not even present anymore. You're trapped inside your head, running through every decision, every missed opportunity. While everyone else keeps chatting, you drift away, not physically, but mentally. You end up in that dark place where everything feels like it's not enough. What could have been a moment to reconnect, to enjoy, turns into some internal interrogation where you never come out winning. If you want to break that invisible chain that ties you to comparison, start by trying a comparison detox. I'm not saying you need to delete all your social media forever. but try something radical for 3 days. Unfollow the accounts that only show perfect lives and stick to the ones that actually bring you value. You'll be amazed at how much quieter your mind gets. And when envy bites, do this. Stop. Acknowledge 3 things you have that maybe that other person doesn't. They don't have to be huge achievements. It could be your sense of humor, your talent for telling stories, or even your epic meme collection. That's wealth too. So here's my challenge for you. If you have to compare yourself, do it with who you were 6 months ago. Measure your own progress, not your distance from others. How were you back then? What things have you achieved that once felt impossible? Letting go of constant comparison is a quiet but powerful step toward inner peace. Because when you stop looking sideways and focus on your own path, you realize the only real competition is with yourself. And in that moment, the noise fades, and calm takes its place. 6. Do you really need to be this busy? Are you one of those people who, when someone asks, "How are you?" you answer without thinking, "Busy, busy?" Like it's a badge of honor, like being swamped somehow earns you extra life points. My friend, let me tell you something. Being busy is not the same as moving forward. Sometimes it's just running in circles like a hamster in its wheel, giving it your all, sweating, exhausted, but stuck in the same spot. And I get it. I've fallen into that trap too, believing that if I packed every minute of my day, I was winning. More meetings, more projects, more to-do lists. Until one day I realized no, that wasn't bringing me peace. It was bringing me more stress. It's like trying to cram all your dirty laundry into the washing machine at once, thinking you'll get it done faster. Spoiler alert, the laundry comes out a mess, and so do you. Seneca warned us about this centuries ago. He said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And it's true. If you think about your day-to-day, how much of that time is actually spent on things that nourish you, that move you closer to what you want. And here, I remember Matteo. Remember him? The electrician from our story at the beginning. He also thought he had it all under control, that a packed schedule was a sign of success, until his body told him otherwise. And you don't want to get to that point, trust me. It was that very quote from Seneca that opened his eyes. Peace, my friend, isn't found in more activity. It's in the quality of your activity. Do you think Seneca ever said, "I didn't have time to reflect today because I was answering emails"? No, he understood something we've forgotten. Life isn't an endless to-do list. Do you know why being so busy doesn't bring you peace? Because multitasking is a lie, plain and simple. You think you can handle everything, but really, you're just jumping from one thing to another, leaving scraps of attention everywhere. Cal Newport, who's studied this deeply, puts it clearly. Real productivity comes from focus, from doing fewer things but doing them well. He calls it deep work, and trust me, it's not just a trend. It's the way out of that constant noise, and the way to finally make real progress. So how can you cut out the tasks that aren't bringing you peace? First, do a weekly inventory. Yep, grab a piece of paper or open a note on your phone and write down everything you did. Then ask yourself, did this bring me closer to what I really want? Or was it just filling space? Because a lot of things seem urgent, but they're not. Next, try something Newport calls reverse time blocking. Don't start your week by cramming in all your work tasks. No, start by blocking out your rest time. Your moments to disconnect, to breathe. Then fit the rest around that. Because if you don't protect that time for yourself, everything else will swallow it up. And finally, here's a small but powerful trick. Every time you catch yourself saying, "I'm busy," swap it for, "This is my priority right now." And then feel if it's true. Is that meeting, that email, that commitment really your priority? If it's not, something's out of balance. Letting go of that silent obsession with always being busy is one of the most powerful steps toward finding calm. Peace doesn't come when you fill your calendar. It comes when you leave space to listen to what your life really needs. Because sometimes the biggest step forward is to stop, to be still, to breathe, and to realize that in that empty space, that's where real clarity begins. 7. Let go of the need to please. Picture this. It's Friday, 9 at night. You're finally home in your pajamas, about to start that series you've been dying to watch all week. You hit play, and your phone buzzes. A message. Hey, could you help me move tomorrow? And there you are, thumb hovering over the keyboard, typing, sure, count me in. But inside, you're screaming. No, you don't want to, not one bit. But you say yes anyway. Why? Because you don't want to look bad. Because what will they think of me? Because you'd rather betray yourself than make someone else uncomfortable. Sound familiar? My friend, that's not being a good person. That's selling your peace for a little approval. And the worst part? This doesn't just happen with favors. It happens when you agree to plans you hate, when you say sure to a meeting you don't have the energy for, when you pile responsibilities on your back that were never yours to carry. Every yes you give just to please someone else is a no you give to yourself. Plain and simple. And even if it doesn't make noise on the outside, inside, it chips away at your peace. You know who really gets this? Jay Akunzo, a speaker who talks about creating from authenticity, not from trying to fit into someone else's mold. He says that every time you try to please everyone, you lose the only voice that truly matters, your own. Because pleasing is easy. You adjust, you smile, you say what people want to hear. But staying true to yourself? That takes courage. And here, Stoicism gives us another brilliant key. Epictetus said, "If you want to be invincible, don't get involved in what doesn't depend on you." And guess what? What others think of you, that's out of your control. You can give your best, but you can't control whether they like it, whether they approve, whether they applaud. Trying to is like chasing smoke. The harder you reach for it, the more it slips away. Now, let me propose something. A 24-hour challenge. Tomorrow, from the moment you wake up, say no to one small thing that doesn't bring you peace. It can be as simple as not answering that message right away. Then, when you get to work, keep practicing. Someone offers you an extra task that isn't yours? Say no. Someone invites you for coffee when you'd rather be alone? Smile, thank them, and say no. And look, I know you can't say no to everything, that's not realistic. But before every yes, ask yourself, am I saying yes to this, or am I saying no to myself? Because if it's the second one, you've got your answer. Trying to please everyone is like trying to fill a colander with water. No matter how much you pour in, it always empties out. Because it'll never be enough. There will always be someone expecting more, asking for more. But you do have a limit. And every time you push past that limit just to please others, you drain yourself even more. Letting go of that quiet need to please is like shutting off a leaky faucet in your mind. That constant drip that keeps you restless, that fills your head with, what if they don't like it? What if they get mad? What if they think less of me? When you shut off that faucet, when you decide your peace is more important than someone else's approval, you start to hear something far more valuable, yourself. My friend, I'm not asking you to change the world, just to stop betraying yourself in order to fit into it. Because right there, in that silence that remains when you say no without guilt, that's where your true peace begins. 8. Let go of the guilt that weighs you down. Let me tell you a story. A group of travelers is making its way through a dense forest. They've been walking all day, and as night falls, they light a campfire. They gather around it, share food, tell stories, and the flames light up their tired but content faces. One by one, the travelers stand up and continue on their journey. The fire burns low, the embers cool, the flames complete their cycle. Everyone moves on, except one. One traveler stays behind, sitting there in front of the ashes. He stares at the dying embers, touches them, blows on them, trying to reignite the flames. He refuses to accept that the fire is out. He believes that if he stays there long enough, if he punishes himself a bit more, maybe the fire will return. But the forest waits. The path moves forward, and he stays stuck, trapped in what's already gone. That's what guilt is. Staying beside a fire that's already gone out, convinced that if you suffer enough, if you punish yourself a little more, maybe the flames will come back. But no, my friend, the flames won't return. The fire did its job and burned out. Now, the only thing left to do is move on. Think about it. How many times have you done the same to yourself? You stayed stuck beside a mistake, a failure, a word you shouldn't have said, going over it again and again, trying to relive something that can't be changed. Like that time you canceled on a friend because you were exhausted. And even though they told you it was fine, you carried that weight for days, as if that guilt could somehow fix it. Marcus Aurelius, who knew a thing or two about carrying responsibility, wrote, "Loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight." If he could see you, my friend, sitting there blowing on the ashes of something long gone, he'd probably tell you, "Get up, keep moving. Life doesn't wait." And it's not just me saying this. Lori Gottlieb, psychotherapist and author of Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, explains how many people get stuck in the past because they believe that letting go of guilt is like saying what happened was okay. But no, letting go of guilt isn't about forgiving the mistake. It's about accepting that it happened, learning from it, and moving forward. She suggests something simple but powerful. Close the cycle. How do you close it? First, write down what you did. Whatever it is that still weighs on you. Be honest, no sugarcoating. Second, write down what you learned from that experience. Even if it hurts, there's always a lesson. And third, write what you'll do differently if you find yourself in a similar situation again. When you're done, tear up that paper. That's it. It's a ritual to remind yourself that the fire has already served its purpose. Here's another powerful tool: reverse visualization. Imagine the worst thing that could happen if you let go of that guilt. What happens if you stop punishing yourself? Spoiler: nothing. The world keeps turning, the forest keeps growing, and you get to walk on a little lighter. One last step. Be grateful for the lesson, not for the mistake, but for what it taught you. Because believe it or not, everything you've been through has made you stronger, wiser. Guilt doesn't fix anything, it just repeats the pain. But when you let go of that stone, you realize something freeing. You could have walked lighter all along, you just hadn't given yourself permission. And when you choose to move on quietly, without fanfare, leaving that weight behind, peace finds its way back to you. Now tell us in the comments, what guilt are you ready to let go of today so you can walk lighter? This is a community that doesn't judge. We all carry stones in our backpacks, but here, together, we learn how to leave them behind. 9. Short-term thinking holds you back. Picture this. You tell yourself you want to save money, that having a little financial cushion would feel great, but every morning, you give in to that $5 coffee. You know, the one with the perfect foam and that little cookie on the side. And no, it's not just the coffee. It's binge-watching that series until 3 in the morning when you know you've got an early start the next day. Or that impulse buy online that, let's be honest, you barely use afterward. Instant gratification feels good, we know that. But in the end, my friend, it comes at a cost. Living only for the now is like planting flowers in soil without roots. At first, they look beautiful, full of life. But one gust of wind, and they wither. What seems to fuel your happiness in the moment often leaves you feeling empty later on. And yes, I know. Life is about the now, but it's also about the after. You can't find peace if every decision you make today sows anxiety for tomorrow. Nir Eyal, author of Indistractable, is crystal clear on this. He talks about how to beat that constant need for immediate gratification. In his own life, Nir sets up barriers. He doesn't keep his phone within reach at all times, he plans breaks, and most importantly, he asks himself whether each decision moves him toward the person he wants to become. Simple, right? Because resisting the immediate isn't punishment, it's self-care. It's a gift you're giving to your future self. So now, let me ask you something you might not want to hear. What would your 5 years from now self think of the decisions you're making today? Think about it. That version of you who dreams of a different job, better health, a personal project, would they thank you or ask for explanations? I know it's easy to think right now, but I deserve this. Just this once. But, my friend, that's what steals your peace. Time to cut those excuses, flip the script. Every time you catch yourself thinking, "I deserve this now," answer back with, "This builds me later." It's not about stopping the fun, it's about choosing how you enjoy it. Sometimes the real pleasure is in knowing how to wait. Ready to eliminate that short-term mindset? Try this, the delay challenge. Next time you feel an impulse, pause, delay it by just 10 minutes. Only 10. It sounds small, but it's enough to snap your brain out of autopilot. Picture yourself on the couch, watching a series, and suddenly you crave that chocolate bar hidden in the kitchen. You can almost taste it. But before you get up, wait. 10 minutes. Stand up, stretch, drink some water. After that time, ask yourself, do I still really want it? Or was it just boredom dressed up as hunger? Same goes for that online purchase. The shirt, the gadget you don't actually need but feels essential in the moment. Stop. Leave it in the cart. Step away. Go for a walk. Switch tasks. Disconnect a little. Then come back and decide if you still want to spend that money. Letting go of that quiet, short-term thinking that holds you back is one of the best ways to find peace. Because peace doesn't come from giving in to every impulse. It comes from knowing you're building something bigger than the moment. Like Marcus Aurelius said, life is lived in the present but built for the future. And that building starts with the small choices you make today. So next time that little pleasure tempts you, the one you know doesn't really serve you, remember this. It's not a sacrifice, it's an investment in your peace. One that doesn't make noise but leaves a lasting mark. 10. Eliminate the fear of being alone. I'm sure you've felt this before. You get home, close the door, and the first thing you do is turn on the TV, play some music, or open up social media. Like the silence is just too heavy. No, it's not a coincidence. Being alone with yourself in silence is sometimes more uncomfortable than standing in an elevator packed with strangers. And when you don't want to hear what's going on inside, you'll do anything to fill that void with noise. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life when I didn't know how to be alone. And I don't mean spending an afternoon at home without plans. I mean that feeling of needing someone with me at all times, even just to go grocery shopping. I'd hit up the supermarket and needed someone to come along. I made plans with friends every day, even when I didn't really feel like it. I thought I was super social, the one always organizing things. But no, my friend, that wasn't the reason. The truth was, I couldn't stand being alone with myself. Because in that silence, the insecurities I'd been covering up with noise started to show. The fear of not being enough, the doubts I'd been burying under distractions. And the strangest thing, the more I avoided being alone, the further I drifted from myself. I'm sharing this because I think it might help you too, because it wasn't something that changed overnight. No, my friend, learning to embrace solitude doesn't come with a manual. At first, I forced myself to do small things alone, even though it felt uncomfortable. Taking a walk without my phone, without headphones, sitting in a cafe and instead of staring at my screen, just looking out the window. I felt awkward, out of place. But little by little, that silence that used to feel so uncomfortable started to feel like home. And you know what happened? I discovered something. The more time I spent with myself, the less I needed to fill that space with others. If you really want to find the peace we've been talking about today, you've got to eliminate that need to run from yourself. Turning down the external noise isn't enough if you don't learn how to sit with the internal silence. As Ryan Holiday says, silence isn't something that needs to be filled. It's a sacred space where you can finally listen to yourself. But of course, you've got to be willing to stay there. Marcus Aurelius had this figured out, as if he knew that centuries later we'd still be doing the same thing, running from ourselves. He wrote it down, almost like a direct piece of advice for you and me. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. He knew, if you don't learn how to be with yourself, you'll end up filling your calendar with people, with activities, with plans, but never with you. And that, my friend, is like always having a house full of guests, but with the lights off inside. So now, my friend, I want to offer you something. The next time you feel that urge to seek company just so you're not alone, pause, stay, step outside, but step outside with yourself. Go to the movies alone, take a long walk, sit at a cafe, no phone, no distractions. Yeah, I know. It'll feel weird at first, like something's missing, but stay with it. Ride out that awkward pull. Because right past that discomfort, something deeper waits. Reconnection with yourself. What helped me too was changing the words I used. I stopped saying, "I'm alone," and started saying, "I'm spending time with myself." Sounds like nothing, but it's not. Changing your words changes your experience. Suddenly it wasn't a punishment. It was a gift. A moment just for me. And if you want to take it one step further, try this. Every time you're sitting quietly with yourself, ask, "What do I need from me right now?" Not to fix it on the spot, just to start really listening. Now you know. If you want to let go of that invisible weight keeping you from peace, start by stopping the escape from yourself. The fear of solitude isn't about being without others. It's about fearing what you'll find when you're with you. But when you dare to stay in that silence, you discover something. You've never been more accompanied. And in that moment, when you no longer need anyone else to fill your space, the noise dies down. And there, real peace begins. My friend, we've covered a lot, I know, but there's still one more thing left. And maybe this one is the trickiest of all, because it hides in the details, in the everyday moments, in the little things you let slide without noticing. If you don't eliminate this last one, everything else starts to lose its power. Let's go for it. 11. Turn off the negative filter in your mind. There are filters that make things better, like the ones on photos. They smooth out the dark circles under your eyes, give your skin that porcelain glow. But then there's the opposite filter, the one that sneaks into your mind without asking, twisting everything to look worse than it is. It's like walking through life with fogged-up glasses, smudged with negative thoughts. No matter what happens, you always spot the flaw, the stain, the thing that's missing. Even on a good day, even when you achieve something important, that filter whispers, "It could have been better." And my friend, that is exhausting. Picture this. You finish a project at work, people congratulate you, but instead of enjoying it, you think, "They're just being polite." Or you go to the gym, beat your personal best, but you tell yourself, "Yeah, but I'm still the slowest one here." You take it to the extreme, even at home. You cook a meal, but instead of savoring it, you think, "It could have used more salt." That negative filter never rests. It always finds something to criticize, especially about you. And this isn't just perception. There are studies showing how this kind of inner dialogue wears you down for real. Psychologist Ethan Kross demonstrated that speaking harshly to ourselves activates the same brain areas as physical pain. Yes, literally. It's like giving yourself a hit. Sounds harsh, right? But here's the good part. Kross also found that if we change the way we talk to ourselves, shifting toward a more compassionate dialogue, the brain responds differently. The body relaxes, stress levels drop. It's not magic, it's science. And you don't need grand motivational speeches. Just start treating yourself the way you'd treat your best friend. Marcus Aurelius said it in his own way. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. What was he telling us? That your negative thoughts aren't a wall. They're the raw material you can use to build a new way of seeing things, if you choose to. So, my friend, how can we turn off that negative filter? Let's do it together, step by step. First, try the reinterpretation exercise. Every time a negative thought pops up, stop and write down 3 alternative versions of that same thought. If you catch yourself thinking, "I'm no good at this," flip it with, "I'm learning," "Today was just a tough day," or "I'll get better if I keep at it." It'll feel forced at first, but it's like changing glasses, uncomfortable at the start, but clearer over time. Second, play defense lawyer. Defend the good in you like your life depends on it. If you catch yourself saying, "I always mess up in meetings," pull out evidence in your favor. "Last time I shared an idea people liked, I've improved at this. People trust me. Remind yourself, you are not your mistakes. Third, practice uncomfortable gratitude. Think of that situation or person you're always criticizing. Make the effort to find something good there. Maybe it's that coworker who won't stop talking, but always shows up on time, or that gloomy day. But it gives you permission to stay in without guilt. It feels awkward, I know, but it's like finding a ray of sunshine in the middle of a storm. There's always something. No one else is going to turn off that filter for you. No one else is inside your head, listening to that constant noise you allow. So, let me ask you, how much longer are you going to keep letting yourself spiral into the worst version of you? How much longer will you let that voice convince you you're not enough? Because the peace you're searching for won't come when everything outside improves. It'll come when you decide to speak to yourself differently. Start today, quietly, without telling anyone. Just you and this new way of seeing yourself. Believe me, when you change the tone you use to talk to yourself, you change the story you tell yourself. And with that, you change your life. Finding inner peace isn't about adding more. It's about letting go. About quietly eliminating everything that weighs you down and pulls you away from yourself. Every day gives you a new chance to silence what doesn't serve you, to clear space in your mind, in your soul, and come back to what really matters. Because true calm doesn't arrive when everything outside is perfect. It comes when you stop carrying what's unnecessary inside. Step by step, no rush, no noise. You start building that peace you so deeply deserve. If you've made it this far, drop me a comment. Without making noise, I begin to set myself free. That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like so you don't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to check out our playlist, which you'll see on the screen. It's packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.